You're sitting right next to them, same couch, same room, same silence, but you've never felt more alone. Your phone lights up. It's a notification. You check it. They don't even look up. You could leave right now, and they wouldn't notice for 20 minutes. That's when you realize you're single. You just haven't made it official yet. This feeling didn't start today. It's been building, quietly, like water filling a room so slowly you don't notice you're drowning until you can't breathe. You remember when sitting next to them felt electric, when silence was comfortable, not empty, when being in the same space meant something. Now, you're just two people who happen to be in the same room, existing in parallel, not together, just nearby. It wasn't always like this. There was a version of this relationship where they listened, where they asked about your day and actually wanted to hear the answer, where they looked at you like you mattered, where their hand found yours without thinking, where you felt chosen. But that version ended, and you're still trying to figure out when. You try sometimes, you really do. You ask how their day was. They say, fine. You tell them about yours. They nod, but their eyes never leave the screen. You suggest doing something together this weekend. They say, maybe. Maybe becomes never. You stop suggesting. They don't notice you stopped. And that's the part that hurts most. They don't notice because they stopped paying attention months ago. You started sleeping on opposite sides of the bed. Then you started going to bed at different times. Now you barely sleep in the same room. You tell yourself it's because of their schedule, because they stay up late, because you wake up early. But the truth is simpler. You don't want to be that close to someone who feels that far away. Dinners used to be when you connected. Now they're just fuel stops. You eat in silence, or worse, you eat while they scroll. You could say literally anything right now and they'd say, aha, without processing a single word. You tested it once. You said something completely absurd. They agreed. They weren't listening. They haven't been listening in a long time. Here's what you need to understand. You're not imagining this. You're not being dramatic. You're not asking for too much. You're experiencing what psychologists call emotional abandonment. It's when someone is physically present but emotionally absent, and it's one of the loneliest experiences a person can have. Because at least when you're single, you know you're alone. This is being alone while someone sits 3 feet away from you. You reached out so many times, literally and figuratively. You asked them to talk. They said everything was fine. You asked them to spend time together. They were too tired. You asked them what was wrong. They said nothing. You asked if they still wanted this. They said yes, but their actions said otherwise. And eventually, you stopped asking, because asking someone to care about you is the most humiliating thing you can do. You can't negotiate desire. You can't convince someone to choose you. They either do or they don't, and they stopped. Here's the pattern you've been ignoring. When you talk, they wait for you to finish so they can get back to their phone. When you're upset, they ask what's wrong, but they've already checked out before you answer. When you need support, they're suddenly too busy. When you share good news, the response is, that's great, but the energy says, I don't care. When you try to connect physically, they tolerate it, but they don't reciprocate. When you suggest couple activities, there's always a reason why not. When you ask about the future, everything becomes vague. You're putting in all the effort. They're just there, occupying space, but not participating. You keep looking at old photos, trying to figure out when it changed. Was it gradual, or did you just not notice the exact moment they decided this wasn't what they wanted anymore? Because that's what this is. They made a choice, not to leave, not to fix it, but to stay and stop trying. And somehow that's worse, because they're keeping you in relationship limbo. You're not single, but you're not really together either. You're just stuck. But here's what you're starting to realize. Being physically alone is better than being emotionally abandoned. At least when you're single, you can heal. You can move forward. You can find someone who actually wants to be with you. This is just prolonging the inevitable while destroying what's left of your self-worth. Because every day you stay in a relationship where you feel invisible, you're teaching yourself that this is what you deserve, and it's not. The truth is, you already know what you need to do. You've known for a while. You're just scared. Scared of being alone. Scared of starting over. Scared of confirming what you already feel, that it's over. But staying isn't protecting you from that fear. It's just making you live it every single day in slow motion. You're already experiencing the breakup. You're already grieving the relationship. You're already single. You just haven't said it out loud yet. Here's what happens next. Either you speak up, tell them exactly how alone you feel, demand they show up or admit they're done, and force a real conversation about whether this is fixable, or you accept that someone who wanted to fix this would have noticed it was broken by now. Someone who valued you wouldn't let you feel invisible. Someone who loved you wouldn't make you beg for the bare minimum, and you leave. Not because you stopped loving them, but because you started valuing yourself. The person who's right for you won't make you feel single while you're together. They won't make you question if you matter. They won't make connection feel like pulling teeth. They'll show up consistently, intentionally, enthusiastically. And until you find that person, being alone isn't the worst thing that can happen to you. Being with someone who makes you feel alone, that is. You're not paranoid, you're not needy, you're just with someone who stopped choosing you. Comment the moment you realized you felt more alone with them than without them. If this is hitting too close to home, send it to yourself as a reminder that you deserve someone who makes you feel seen. Next video, the difference between being alone and being lonely in a relationship. Subscribe so you don't miss it. See you there.